Hey, Mrs. J-Dub, were you over in the live chat watching the chaos? Hey, Mrs. Fluffer, wasn't that special? Miss Mensa, boo-hoo, don't talk about the family? Really? Really? Yeah, block Miss Mensa and then go ahead and talk to Miss Mensa, right? Wasn't that so revealing? So revealing. And unfortunately, I actually trusted Paula. One more for the list, right? It was getting a little too noisy over there anyway. Having both channels going at the same time, it was kind of like, ah, and then Guacamole would try to sing, and it was too much. Ooh. Well, Christy, I can explain it if you want. There is a very long list of channel creators who jump on board with the case of Christopher Watts to cause chaos and confusion so that people don't discuss the actual case. And what just happened in the live chat was there were scumbags making shit comments, and Miss Mensa, moi, pointed out that yes, the family did applaud a long list of channel creators who have been harassing people and threatening people and doxing people and harming innocent people. And yes, the family members hop right in the comment threads and applaud them and cheer them on. It's the truth. I thought we were truth seekers, right? I mean, if they want to sit up there on their panel and call Guacamole a liar, which she is, then I think they might want to give a little bit of a crap about what's going on in their comment threads. And the truth is that a certain member of Christopher Watts' extended family has made it his, I don't know, job, and I use that word loosely, to harass and harm me. And I think I'm supposed to be too afraid, fearful, shaking over ever standing up and saying, hey, this is bullshit. Guacamole didn't just all of a sudden hop on a channel and start creating videos attacking innocent people. Neither did Go Lightly. Neither did Keck. They're part of an organized hate campaign. And when you see family members repeatedly in those comment threads applauding abuses against innocent people, then I'm sorry, this whole idea of, ooh, victim is bullshit. Was Christopher Watts' wife the only person who died in the last 3 years? I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of people who have suffered the loss of a loved one in the same time frame. Does that give us the right to run around and tell people, here's your list, this is what I want you to say? Or to say to another channel creator, make a video. You need to say this, you need to say that. No, of course not. Have you seen the videos that the Alice Cooper lookalike has posted? And keep in mind, this is not about Miss Mensa. This is about Cindy Watts. Guacamole was supposed to be attacking Cindy Watts and anybody who Cindy Watts had any connection with. That's what she was supposed to be doing. I'm not defending her actions at all. She should have said no. Alice Cooper, same thing. She created crap videos attacking both Cindy Watts and me. Golightly, same thing. Promoting hatred and violence and harassment against innocent people who do not deserve to be attacked. You do know that I received a text message from a North Carolina phone number back in early October 2018 telling me that I had to leave their family alone, that I better not write anything about this case, that they had people watching me, they knew everything about me, and that my children were soon to be called. My family members were soon to be called. And guess what? 2 or 3 days later, my family members all started getting harassed with phone calls. Do you remember the video that was posted telling everybody my employer, telling thousands of people to call my employer? Christopher Watts' little brother-in-law was the pinned comment applauding that channel creator. Did you know that Christopher Watts' little brother-in-law himself has lied about me, committing slander and defamation? Did you know that? Just like Guacamole was lying about me, well, openly stating that she was working directly for Christopher Watts' extended family members. Do you really believe that all of a sudden Guacamole had some sort of falling out with the family? I don't. I think that somewhere along the way, somebody advised somebody that it might not be a good idea for everybody to say that she was working for them when she was committing the horrendous acts that she was committing about so many of us. If any one of them is against harassment, then they may want to stop harassing other people. And it's the same thing for the new Paula channel. If they honestly care about all the things they're calling out Guacamole about, then they should stop doing it themselves. Happy Angie says, why is she called the avocado? She's called the avocado because I called her the avocado, because she's the furthest thing from an advocate there is, but avocado kind of sounded like advocate. Paula is here or Paula is there? If Paula is here, Paula, you are welcome to hop up on this panel and hear what I think. I just scrolled through. I don't see Paula here at all. Maybe she's the one who blocked me. Oh, she's up there on the panel? Yes, that's her channel. The three women started that channel together. Oh, okay, here she is, up there. Got it. You want to hop up? Okay, I will. Oops. Hold on. I clicked on the wrong thing. Hold on. There we go. I just put the link in. I don't know if you can see it or not, Paula. I'm with you, Mrs. Fluffer. I am so disgusted by what just went on. Here she is, Star Mama. Okay, hold on.
Hey.
Hey, Paula.
I don't know what's going on. I was in the bathroom. I'm been so sick from this insulin that even though you see me up there, I've been in the bathroom for about the last 30 minutes. And I come back, Fran, and I asked him in the private chat what was going on. I didn't. They weren't answering me. Something about um, something to do about some answers or something on the Chris Watts case or something. The only thing I can tell you is, look, those girls know exactly where I stand with you from the very beginning. And I've told them from the very, very beginning that I will never turn on you, period. I will leave that channel first. They've
Well, I
been
would
told
leave the
that.
channel then, Paula.
But what happened? Can you tell me what happened?
What
I don't
Dorothy
even
just
know.
Yeah, what Dorothy just pulled was a guacamole move extraordinaire, and it's bullshit.
What'd she do?
She had people in the chat, which just happens anytime I go in your chat. You know, there's the people with all their shit comments, and nobody seems to care, but whatever, you know, it happens. And
They're not supposed to do anything. Nobody's supposed to be blocked. Nobody's comments are supposed to be hidden. And
and
that's the way it's supposed to be. And it's been going on right and left. And we were talking earlier today, we're going to have to go through the list of moderators because there's too many problems. And we don't know what's going on.
right, well, then they're doing this thing of don't you dare say anything, blah blah blah, you know, and I don't even know the crap comments because it's one after another that I'm looking at it going, yep, okay, so here we go, another hate channel is all this is. If the comment threads are allowed to do what goes on that channel, that's a hate channel. I'm sorry. And Dorothy was out of line. And in my opinion, she's right up there with guacamole. She has no right to be saying anything against guacamole with the way she treats people. And what did she do? Instead of saying anything at all to anybody in the comment threads, they blocked me. And then she's like, Miss Menton, we're not going to, you know, really? Really? I mean, seriously, Paula, you're so much better than that.
I'm so sorry. Like I said, I didn't even know what was going on. I've been, fighting, starting this new insulin and stuff. And I don't
Have you
know.
ever been on insulin before?
Yeah, I was back in 2011 when I was on steroids. I was on it for about 4 years because of my lungs. But I don't know. The doctor thinks I'm stressed out. It's the reason why it's acting
Well,
up. And it's probably
that's what
what it is.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say, stress can spike is it for your sugars and is
Yeah.
it like a metabolic syndrome
Yeah,
thing?
they've been going like in the 300s. Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
Yeah. If you're in the 300s, then you know what? This whole Watts thing, seriously, I mean, you need to put your health way before
Yeah.
this crap.
Well,
And
I've
this
already
crap
been
will do it.
thinking about it. I'm so sorry this went on. You know that I'm not like that. I just don't do that shit. So I heard about it. And so I thought, I seen you were live. I said, oh shit, I got to go find out what's going on. But,
Well, definitely, Paula, if you're suffering those kinds of health problems, I would take a break because the group that you're involved with, as much as you're close to them and you love them and you've been friends for a long time, what's
well,
going
I
on over
haven't
there,
known Dorothy that long. I haven't known Dorothy that long. She just
what's
started it,
what's
this
going
small
on
group.
over there is absolutely toxic.
Yeah. You know, Gypsy. I mean, I know she's never said anything bad out of line, has she? That I know of.
Not that I know of, but Dorothy
So it's
seems to be a little
Dorothy.
bit of a wild card who's pretty much, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, be
Well,
careful who your friends are, that's for sure. But if your sugar numbers are spiking, man, I would take a break.
yeah. Well, I'm going to. I'd already talked about it earlier today, and I'm not even going back over. I mean, I'm not even going back up there. I'm just going to bed.
Yeah, get a good night's sleep and check your
All
sugar
right.
in the morning and hopefully it's good.
All right. Well, I love you.
I love you too. Sorry for what I started off the video saying. I'm like, now I know Paula's true colors.
I'm
so,
sorry.
sorry about that. If I knew how to edit, I'd edit it out.
That's all right. You had your right. I just didn't know what was going on.
I just had to spit and sputter. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll let you. stay a Bob.
All right. Good night, y'all.
But Dorothy can kiss my royal.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Be
All
healthy,
right.
girl. Be
All right.
healthy.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, Christy, I agree. You're safe here, Paula. Leave them. They are toxic. You can bring Gypsy with you if you want, but Dorothy is toxic. Big time. She may as well hang out with avocado, guacamole, whoever she is. Uh-oh, Christy's partner thinks she's a mental. This is going to be an interesting live chat. Tell us more, Christy. Oh my God. What a night, you guys. Yeah, Mrs. J Dub, I'm thinking so. We'll just stay in our little corner. And however many of us are here, those are the actual numbers of people interested in actually discussing the case. Because what's going on everywhere else, it's a flippin' zoo. You know, I went on Mia's live chat, what was it, last night? I don't know when. And Mia makes some really good points. You know, she lands on things I think sometimes that she's maybe not supposed to land on. And her chat, oh my goodness. I think, I don't know. I think Mia should disconnect from all the weirdos and just have her own channel and stop letting people tell her what to do and stop letting all those people in her chat drive decent discussion away, right? And the same thing with that Australian guy. His chat was full of crap, just so full of crap. There was one video he did, I think yesterday, where he was talking about that Mark interview. And right when he got to the part about talking, I think he said Mark was saying that Cindy Watts is very kind hearted, a very decent person, right? The Australian guy interrupts mid sentence and talks, about Christopher Watts and stuff. And I thought, yeah, you don't even want anybody to hear that Mark said how kind-hearted, how good-hearted Cindy Watts is. I mean, are these people that desperate to make a few pennies that they're willing to just do whatever they're told to do, regardless of who they're harming? The comment threads are nothing but bash fests. And remember, it's about bashing Cindy Watts. That's who they're bashing. They bash those of us along with her, yes, but that's the focus. So think about it. Who hates Cindy Watts? Happy Angie says paid. They are all paid, much like Facebook and YouTube. Maybe we need to dig into the glaring question here. Who hates Cindy Watts? Because the hate fest against Cindy Watts has been going strong since day one. Maybe we should analyze that, right? Maybe we should dig in and analyze that. Cindy Watts is attractive. She and her husband never filed bankruptcy. They're healthy. They raised their kids well. They sent their kids to college. Do we even know if the other kids even graduated from high school? And I'm not saying there's any big deal if somebody didn't graduate from high school. But come on. Cindy Watts always had a career, an actual career. Who was so jealous of her that they would be promoting hatred against her? I agree, Christy. Cindy Watts has done nothing wrong, yet from day one, Cindy Watts has been the target of hatred. And let me tell you something. The night before the nut meltdown, Christopher Watts' wife confided many details to his mother about her life. Many details. And Cindy Watts confided those details to me. If you want to see a class act, that's Cindy Watts, who has yet to tell what she knows. That's a class act. How's that go, Paula? Bingo, I think. Bingo, in my opinion. Cindy hasn't done anything wrong at all, and she didn't do anything wrong at all during her son's marriage. And she didn't do anything wrong at all before her son's marriage. And who did Christopher Watts' wife turn to for love and support? Her mother-in-law. That's who. Who did she confide the most intimate details? The most intimate details of pain and trauma that she suffered in her lifetime. Who did she confide those details to? Her mother-in-law. Who was there when little Cece was born? Her mother-in-law. Who was there when she and her husband traveled out of the country? Her mother-in-law. Cindy Watts was a solid rock in Christopher Watts' wife's life, a solid rock. Christopher Watts' wife depended on Cindy Watts. She admired Cindy Watts. She looked up to Cindy Watts. And it wasn't until she flew to North Carolina in the last 6 or 8 weeks of her life that she had the nut meltdown. While she's staying with her parents, then suddenly she's acting like she hates her mother-in-law. She didn't act like that before. Well, except for when she was still living in North Carolina before the wedding, right? Oh, wait. They got along just fine while she was still living in North Carolina. And then Christopher Watts and his wife moved to Colorado before the wedding. Something like 9 or 10 months or even longer before the wedding. 9 months, guessing. They got along fine. They got along just fine. All of that time, they got along just fine. And then when she returned to North Carolina, then all of a sudden, there was trouble. The only 2 times there was trouble in the relationship between Christopher Watts' wife and his mother were when both times Christopher Watts' wife returned from Colorado to North Carolina, and then suddenly she changed. She got along just fine with Cindy for 5.5 years straight, from the time after the wedding till her death. Well, until 5 or 6 weeks before her death. But this is, I think, an important point. When she returned to North Carolina, right before the wedding, all hell broke loose. And suddenly, Christopher Watts' family was just dirt. And then again, after 5.5 years of everything being just fine, she returned to North Carolina, and suddenly, Christopher Watts' family was dirt. You know how relationships are almost easy when it's one-on-one, right? You have 2 or 3 relationships, and it works out just fine. You have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, you have 10, 12 relationships, you have close friends, you have your family members, and everyone gets along just fine. But then all of a sudden, there's one person who isn't okay with another person, right? And then all of the relationships shift and change. And sometimes I think people think they're supposed to act a certain way in front of this person and then another way in front of that person, right? Or maybe they're supposed to take sides, or maybe they're supposed to pretend to the one that really they like them better, right? You see what I'm saying? I think Christopher Watt's wife and his mother got along very well until she returned to North Carolina. And I think that the multiple relationships were too difficult for Christopher Watt's wife to handle. I think she was trying to please one over the other. I think she was having some difficulty too, because I don't think honesty was her, well, what should I say, her best virtue, if at all. Maybe she told Cindy certain things, and maybe she told other people other things, and maybe she didn't really want them all in the same space, just in case they compared notes. Or maybe she realized that her mother-in-law was very intelligent and she would see through some of the stories maybe that she was told. Or maybe she would question whether or not some of the things she was told were actually true. Or maybe she was just supposed to hate Cindy Watts. Look at how people are treated in the true crime community, right? If you say anything nice about Cindy Watts, how are you treated? Boo hoo. Cindy Watts is a psychopath who raised a psychopath son. No, she isn't. And no, she didn't. But it's okay to say that, isn't it? Nobody will attack you. Nobody will say shame on you, right? Nobody will harass you or your family. And nobody is saying anything at all about Christopher Watt's extended family. Anything at all. Yet they're the ones, specifically the brother-in-law, who is claiming victimhood. If there's any family member who's been victimized on social media, it sure seems to me that that family member is Cindy Watts. And any of us who happen to stand up and say so. I think if there are any new laws coming from this case, then they should be to protect people like Cindy Watts from others who organize a hate campaign, a harassment campaign, and who keep their hatred going for years while they spread lies about her. You know, this whole idea that Ronnie's a cokehead, are you kidding me? What a bunch of bunko. So what if he used cocaine at some point in his life? That doesn't make him a cokehead. And funny thing, Ronnie goes to work every day, and he has for decades. Cindy went to work every day before she retired for decades. Ronnie and Cindy paid their bills. Ronnie and Cindy saved up money to send their children to college. Ronnie and Cindy bent over backwards to be there for their children and their grandchildren. How dare anybody attack Cindy Watts? And I'll go back to what I said earlier. You want to see a class act in this case? That would be Cindy Watts. Because let me tell you something. The information that that woman knows, well, we would all be interested to hear it, let me tell you. But the class act that she is, she doesn't say a word. And I'll tell you why. because she is a woman who actually does have strength and love for her family, including for her daughter-in-law. So this BS that we've been listening to for almost 3 years straight, in fact, in my opinion, I think that Christopher Watts' wife trusted Cindy Watts the most of anybody on the planet. I do. I think she admired her. I think she wanted to be more like her. And I think a lot of her claims of success, that I think is nothing but bullshit, I think in part were due to her wanting to please her in-laws, her wanting to belong, her wanting to be a Watts, because she knew that the Watts family knew how to work. They have a very strong work ethic. She knew that the Watts family believed in close family ties, treating each other with respect, being there for each other, paying their bills, making plans together as a family, spending time together, encouraging each other, setting goals, lifting each other up. And I think that Christopher Watts' wife wanted that for herself and for her children. And I think she had a tough time sometimes even recognizing that she did belong, that she was a Watts, that she was welcomed into the family. I think she loved being Cindy Watts' daughter-in-law. I think she benefited from being Cindy Watts' daughter-in-law. And I think it's disgusting that after her death, that her mother-in-law has been treated so poorly by so many people on social media. Susie says, getting Cindy to watch the girls while her parents were living there in the basement says it all. I think it's interesting that when we have commented about Christopher Watts' wife expecting Cindy to fly there while her own parents were right there in the basement, that the haters jump right on us saying, well, her parents had to work. Really? Because Ronnie and Cindy both had full-time careers for decades. So how does that fit in? I don't know. Mrs. Fluffer says SR didn't want SW to be close to her mother-in-law. The way Cindy explained it was that her daughter-in-law did sometimes seem to struggle to be able to have everybody together, and that she would step back because she wanted her daughter-in-law to be able to spend time with her own mother. Again, Cindy Watts is one class act. She didn't jump in and have to try to compete. She didn't jump in and try to cause any trouble. She stepped back when she realized that Christopher Watts' wife was struggling with how to handle more than one relationship at a time. She stepped back out of love, and she was there waiting every time her daughter-in-law returned to be close to her again. And think about this. I have verbally chastised Ronnie and Cindy both and their daughter Jamie. I have spoken very openly about how disgusted I was, how they did not accept the pro bono lawyer, right? I have said some really negative things, very negative things. And you want to know something? Cindy Watts has continued to treat me with absolute respect and kindness. Because that interview with that Mark guy, he was spot on. She is a kind-hearted, good-hearted. She's a very kind, a very good person. She understood exactly where I was coming from. That's a strength of character that is rare in this toxic case known as the case of Christopher Watts. Look at everything she's been through. And she cares about my feelings. Are you kidding? That is what a good person she is. I think Christopher Watts' wife was very smart to be very close to her mother-in-law. I think she wanted to be a Watts. I think she wanted to be a Cindy Watts. I think she tried to be a Cindy Watts. I think when Jamie showed up to drop off the kids so she could head off to her actual career in the healthcare industry, I think she couldn't handle it. I think she wanted what Jamie had. And I think it worked on her. She knew she didn't have any healthcare industry job or any chance of it. She maybe also knew that she didn't really understand the relationship that Jamie and her mother have. And maybe that hurt her. Maybe it hurt. Maybe Christopher Watts' wife felt less than. I think it's interesting, Mrs. Fluffer, because when you think about how she made all of those terrible comments about Cindy having pistachio nuts, remember, I think up on the shelf, yet at her mother's house, it was okay that her brother, who was still living there, I think in his 30s, had pistachio nuts in his bedroom. She didn't have a meltdown. She didn't have a meltdown at all, according to the police interviews, right? I don't think her meltdown had anything to do with nuts at all. And quite frankly, I don't think Cece was allergic to anything in the first place. I think when Jamie showed up and dropped the kids off, and also remember, she was supposed to be heading back to her parents' house. I think she flipped a switch. I think when Cece started to scream, I think she flipped a switch. I don't think she could handle Cece screaming either. I think there are many layers to her meltdown. And one of those layers, in my opinion, was that she wanted to have what Jamie had. And I don't think she knew how. I want to hop back to the whole thing with that live chat just for a second. We're supposed to believe, evidently, that Christopher Watts' brother-in-law is some sort of victim, right? 3 years later, we're supposed to be, I guess, just turning the other cheek over and over and over again. Every time he lies about us, every time he calls us names, every time he tells people to harass us, every time he commits slander and libel, every time he intentionally inflicts emotional distress, every time he commits defamation, we're all supposed to just look the other way, turn the other cheek, like I said, and say, ah, gee, he's a victim. Well, I'm sorry, but there are a lot of people in the world, many people in the world, who have lost a loved one. There are many people in the world who have lost a loved one to violent crime. It does not allow the person who has lost a loved one, a relative, a close friend, whoever, it does not allow the person who has lost a loved one to act out in harmful ways toward other people. He has no right to be discussing me. He has no right to be lying about me or my family. He has no right to be committing defamation against me. He has no right to be harassing me, and he has no right to be encouraging others to harass me. So while everybody wants to hop up on the panel and bitch about guacamole, I think it's important to remember who guacamole was openly working for. Do you think guacamole came up with all that on her own? She said very openly who she was working for. And they would show up in the comment threads and applaud her while she was committing defamation, slander, libel, IIED, and harassment and making threats. I'm coming for you, Mensa. Do you remember that video? I'm coming for you, Mensa. And that family supported her and applauded her. And she openly stated over and over again that she was working for them. Remember the Norman channel? The anonymous get up? The fake anonymous? Doxing my employer and telling thousands of people to call my employer, the judiciary no less. And who had the pinned comment right at the top? Christopher Watts' little brother-in-law, applauding the harassment and doxing of innocent people, name calling, telling them to keep it up, keep going, good job, or whatever, calling us old hags. Losing a loved one does not give anybody the right or permission to harm and harass innocent people. And also, the fact that I do write books on true crime cases does not give anybody the right to dox my family or to even discuss me. They're welcome to critique whatever book they want to critique. They're not welcome to violate copyright laws which they repeatedly do, they're not within their rights to be pretending that I'm some sort of public person. I'm not. Book authors have the right to their privacy. YouTube channel creators have a right to their privacy. I have not hopped up on any public stage. YouTube is not what is known as a public stage. They targeted me. And they pretend that I've said something that's so harmful or hurtful or harassing, and it's bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. We have the right to discuss true crime cases. Each and every one of us has the right to discuss true crime cases. We have the right to have our own opinions on true crime cases. And if anybody, friend or family member of any person who dies in a tragic manner or in any manner, thinks that that gives them the right to attack people who have opinions that they may not like, they're wrong. Do you guys know I stopped talking about this case for a couple of months before that 1-year anniversary? Did you know that I removed all of my videos about this case? You guys do realize that the cases I focus on are primarily the Darlie Routier case and the Betty Broderick case, right? And the Jennifer and Joseph Rosenbaum case, and a few others. The case of Christopher Watts is not the case I focus on. It is on this channel because that's what this channel is for. Whatever. But did you know that a couple of months before that end of the driveway interview, I'm doing air quotes when I say interview, that I had removed all of the videos on this case? I removed all of them. And I stopped talking about this stupid case. And then when that interview aired, I received death threats again, because I had already been receiving death threats before, within minutes of that interview being aired. The harassing phone calls started again. The libelous posts, the defamatory posts, the ads on Craigslist for phone sex using my name and phone number, photos of my home, photos of my grandchildren, the location of my grandchildren's daycare center. It all started again after that end of the driveway speech, where we were told, evidently, that the family wasn't on social media at all, except they were. And we were told that they felt they were being harassed, evidently, because people they knew were sending them things that they had seen on social media. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If anybody was harassing them, then that would be the people who they knew who were sending them things that they saw on social media. And if they didn't want to receive that stuff, then they should have said to the people who they knew, you know, the ones who were sending them things off of social media that supposedly were posted by other people, but we all know how that works with all the fake profiles that have been created. They should have told them to stop it. And if they truly weren't on social media at the time, even though they were, then it seems pretty simple, right? I highly doubt Lacey Peterson's mother is hanging out on YouTube. I highly doubt Casey Anthony is hanging out on YouTube. I highly doubt O.J. Simpson gives a rip about YouTube. So what on earth makes anybody think that because they've lost a family member that they have the right to harm and harass innocent people. They don't. They do not have the right. And it is only out of the kindness of our hearts that they haven't been sued big time. But again, I don't want you guys to answer this question. I'm just asking it rhetorically. How many of us have lost loved ones in the last 3 years? How many of us have lost loved ones and set up a GoFundMe so that we can sue people who we don't like their opinion? How many of us have lost loved ones and held fundraisers one after another? How many of us, well, you get the idea. And it goes right into what occurred just now in that live chat. Channel after channel after channel can go on and on and on for 3 years straight, committing slander, defamation, libel, you name it, against Cindy Watts. No problem there. But you damn well better not notice that Christopher Watts' wife looked right into the camera and said that she just gave the girls lots of Tylenol. You better not have a problem with that because she was perfect. Right? Well, wrong. Giving 2 small children lots of Tylenol is disgusting. And those of us on this channel are brave enough to say so. I agree, Miss CD. How you doing? Miss CD says they want us to shut up because we figured out the real SW. And remember, the attacks were going on before people even knew what our opinions were. There was, I think, a drive right from the very beginning to try to control, to prevent anybody from feeling safe enough to state their honest opinion about this case. Because you know, in the private chats, the discussions are running constantly with people who absolutely believe that Christopher Watts did not kill anybody. Nuckin' Futt says she's singing. Are you talking about Guacamole? If she is, I'm so glad I'm not listening. There's something about her voice. It just, ooh. It's like, oh my goodness, she can't be trying to do that again. Hey, Bling. Bling is here. Every time I wear my Chicago t-shirt, I think of you, Bling. For those of you who don't know, Bling is like the closest thing we have in here to a celebrity. I'm not trying to throw you on the public stage or anything, because I know that can be dangerous in this neck of the woods, right? I want to go back to Miss CD's comment. We did figure it out, didn't we? We did look at those videos and we saw the look in Bella's eyes and we saw how she looked fearful and how she looked sad. And we dared to speak up. We dared to question whether or not poor little Bella was being medically abused by her mother. And many of us, including me, are of the opinion that yes, Bella was being medically abused. Christy, I like your solution. And decided to have a baby. That was cute. That was just cute how you said that. Yeah, it is very strange. It is very strange. And it's very disgusting when you hear some of the crap they say, some of the comments they post, some of the videos that are up there. It's really disgusting. It's a very sad statement for our world. Nuckenfut says, my 4 children altogether have had maybe 20 doses of Tylenol in their lifetime altogether. My kids are 20, 14, 11, and 5. So there's that. LOL. Lots of love. Well, I'm trying to think. Let me think. Because back in my day, my kids had chicken pox. It was before the vaccine. So I imagine they probably had some then. Let me think. I know I had Liquiprin. That was before Tylenol was so popular. We used to have something called Liquiprin in the medicine cabinet. But we had it there just in case, like if they got one of their shots, they might get a little warm or something. And I don't think we used it. I'm trying to think. Probably during the chicken pox. Maybe not though, because remember that whole thing how parents were really worried about what to give them? So maybe not. And I don't even know for sure if they would have had fevers because they had spots before I even knew. Hmm. Seriously, 3 kids, and I'm sitting here trying to remember when they had any, right? Poor little Bella was 4 years old. And look at how many trips to the hospital. Look at how many trips to the doctor, to the specialists. Poor little Cece was just turning 3 the summer of 2018. And she already had so many procedures and so many doctor visits and hospital visits. Why the hell didn't CPS take those children out of that home? Doesn't it seem pretty clear by all those videos that Christopher Watts was about as lame as they come for standing up for his babies? Why the hell didn't CPS take Bella and Cece out of that home? All of the videos that we've watched were posted online for the world to see. Why the hell didn't CPS take Bella and Cece Watts out of that home? Why were they still in that home? I don't know what you mean, Christy. Yes, Summer Breeze. Poor darling little Bella was afraid of the dirt. Afraid. The neighbors didn't even know that they had children. Afraid of the dirt, afraid of the trampoline, afraid of the ocean. and afraid of the rain. On the Lake says the high-priced daycare had to know something wasn't right. Why weren't the children removed from that home? Or were they about to be removed from that home? And did they make the mistake of noticing up a hearing, the ongoing family matter that we were told by a family member that was coming up, the hearing for an ongoing family matter? And remember, anytime Christopher Watt's wife wanted to talk to him about their marriage or their relationship, according to her, he would say that he didn't want to lose the girls. And remember, she asked Christopher Watts, according to her, she asked Christopher Watts whether or not he would stay with her if they didn't have kids. So did somebody make a mistake somewhere along the way and notice up that hearing? Did Christopher Watt's wife start figuring out, hey, wait a minute, what's going to go on at that hearing? Could it be that the reason she didn't go in for prenatal care was because she didn't want the pregnancy part of any, ongoing family matter? And remember, Christopher Watts said that he had decided he was going to get an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment for himself and the girls. Did somebody make a huge mistake and notice up that hearing? When was the hearing noticed? Was it before the big 6-week trip? We've been told that there were social workers in North Carolina who made spot checks to make sure that the rules were being followed. Could it be that Christopher Watt's wife didn't think that there would be any spot checks going on? If there were spot checks going on in North Carolina, as we've been told there were, is that when they found out about the pregnancy? Why didn't Christopher Watts take those children and leave? Was he waiting for the hearing that we're told was for an ongoing family matter? Here's something else, you guys, that I've been thinking about. For 3 years straight, everybody is bashing the mistress. In 2018, it was already figured out that she had nothing to do with any of it. Yet 3 years are going by with everyone making money off of accusing her of terrible things, right? Oh, he was such a scumbag to have a mistress. Well, you know what? I don't think he had a mistress. And for any of you who have been cheated on, I'm sorry. Please don't let this trigger you, okay? Please don't, seriously. Keep this specific to the case, okay? That marriage was over. It was in March when she was sitting there talking to a lawyer about divorcing Christopher Watt. It was in March when Christopher Watts discovered that she hadn't made 3 house payments in a row. Her credit wouldn't be ruined by it. His credit would have been ruined by it. And specifically, his housing credit would have been ruined by it, meaning it would have made it more difficult for him to get a new place. The HOA dues, not paying the HOA dues, whose credit would be screwed? Christopher Watt's credit would be screwed. And again, specifically, his housing credit, making it more difficult for him to get another place. If she's going to sit there and not pay the house payment for 3 months straight, I'm thinking the marriage was already over at that point. That means in December of 2017, while she's wanting to have the prime rib and inviting strangers to her house for the holidays, and she's telling people to order 6 bottles of wine for some wine pyramid, she's spending money on wine. She's spending money on prime rib, but she's not making the house payment. That marriage was done. When he stood there in that Santa suit and she treated him like total shit, that marriage was done. When she dressed him up like an elf and said, "Smile for the effing camera," I'm just ad-libbing, I'm not sure what she said. That marriage was over. Over. And yes, I agree, Mrs. J-Dub. SW knew it. She knew it in March when she was asking that lawyer all of those questions. And she knew it in early July when she told the young hairstylist that she was getting divorced. So one thing I love about our channel, we don't have to pretend here, because here we actually discuss the case and we actually share our honest opinions about the case. Because remember, we have the right to do that. That marriage was over, and she knew it. And she told others that the marriage was over. So all this song and dance about how she was somehow blindsided because Christopher Watts suddenly had a girlfriend, baloney. Baloney. He had a girlfriend because that marriage was over. He had a girlfriend because he was moving on. He had a girlfriend because he knew damn well the divorce would be pending. And I think that he thought that at that court hearing, for what we were told by a family member was for an ongoing family matter, that at that point, he would be taking Bella and Cece and moving to an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment. I also think that he was convinced by his wife by that time that the house was already listed for sale. Listen to his police interview. Sure sounds to me like he thought she had already listed it. And of course, Doofus Watts probably never questioned why there wasn't a sign in the yard, right? Just like he never questioned her income or her claim that she earned the car. Yes, Mrs. J-Dub, asking the lawyer custody questions. And specifically, she was asking about whether or not the custodial parent would be allowed to move out of state. I do not believe for 1 second that she thought she would get custody. I think she was asking those questions in order to learn whether or not Christopher Watts would be able to move out of state with Bella and Cece, probably knowing full well that he would be moving to North Carolina to live near his family. I agree. Christopher Watts should have been honest with the police from the very beginning. He never should have tried to cover for anyone, especially his wife. Because in my opinion, that's what he's doing. In my opinion, that's what he was doing in his police interviews, and I think that's what he's still doing to this day. That's my opinion. I think he's covering for his wife. Here's something else I thought about today. On another case, they were talking. Let me think what case it was. The Chad Daybell case. The prosecutor has noticed the court that in the event Chad Daybell is found guilty, that they will be seeking the death penalty. That is a formality that is necessary before the death penalty can be, quote unquote, on the table. I have searched all of the documents, and now watch, now that I'm saying this, suddenly we'll have a channel all of a sudden pop up with a notice, right? But from what I can tell, the prosecutor in the case of Christopher Watts never noticed the court that in the event Christopher Watts was found guilty, that he would be seeking the death penalty, in essence, putting it on the table. So all of this hullabaloo that we've been told for nearly 3 years straight, that the only reason Christopher Watts didn't get the death penalty, blah, 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 is because his extended family members were so gracious and they decided whatever. Really, it was Colorado. Cindy Watts is spot on. When was the last execution in Colorado? What, 1990 something? And how many months after the case of Christopher Watts went through the system in, I would say, at lightning speed, did Colorado do away with the death penalty completely? If the prosecutor never put the death penalty on the table, which if he did, correct me if I'm wrong, but I sure as hell can't find any evidence of it. If he never put the death penalty on the table, why are we listening to 3 years of gibberish about Christopher Watts being so fortunate that his in-laws didn't want him to get the death penalty? I'll say it again, Cindy Watts was right. The death penalty? Are you kidding me? In Colorado? Uh-uh. Summer Rose wants to know if I'm still reachable on Facebook Messenger. It depends which account you're using, Summer Rose, because the scumbag attackers have hacked into my main Facebook, and they have taken photos of my grandchildren and other photos, my graduation photos, things like that. And they use that profile to post some pretty hideous stuff all over social media. So it depends. You might be reaching out to the scumbag attackers without knowing it. If you want to reach me, you can just email me at missmensa@gmail.com. Susan says, the more I see, the more I don't have any respect. Summer Rose says, the death penalty BS in my eyes was a scare tactic to get Chris to confess to all the murders. And if his parents would get off their duffs and get him a lawyer, that might be something that should be discussed in court. Summer Rose says, I was wondering why I hadn't heard from you in a while. It's been over 3 months after the baby was born. Aw, yes. Yes, I know who you are. I know, I love that Christmas card. That was hilarious. And your baby was February, I think, right? I might have you confused with someone else, but I think you had your baby in February. I remember you sent the ultrasound. That was funny. I'm like, okay, you're weird. Ultrasounds are always fun to see, though. Now watch, I'll get a bunch of ultrasounds. Speaking of ultrasounds, where's Ray? I bet you Ray is sleeping. I'm scrolling up here to see if Ray's here at all. Ray! I want to round off on the whole thing with the Paula thing, too. I actually am really glad that Paula hopped over here and jumped up on the panel because I have trusted Paula for a long time. And that would just be another heartbreak, I think, to find out that Paula was that same caliber as that Dorothy person. I don't think she is. I think she's a good girl. Yeah, really, Christy. I do that when I drive. If I'm driving for a couple 3 hours by myself, then I can think a lot. There's something about just cruising down the highway that it helps you think of things that you didn't think of before. Summer Rose says, "That's good, Miss Mensa. Yes, February baby. I'm sorry to hear about the stuff they are posting about your grandchildren. That's absolutely disgusting." Well, they are absolutely disgusting. They're sorry excuses for humans, let me tell you. Summer says, "I have never had any respect for the R's. They are nothing but disrespectful towards the Watts family and think they are the only ones who lost grandchildren." Susan says she flipped out. No nurse Nene. Summer Rose says, "They only care about profiting off this case. It truly makes me sick. Payment here, GoFundMe there, handout here. It's disgusting. They say everyone is making money off this family." I think all of the channels that have taken part in this charade are also disgusting. And again, I'm not sticking up for Guacamole. I'm not sticking up for Alice Cooper. I'm not sticking up for Go Lightly or for any of the others who have taken part. But shame on each and every one of them. I don't care who told them to do what. Well, I do in a way. But it doesn't matter who's telling them to do what. They should have never pulled the crap they pulled. And what they don't seem to realize is they are the ones right in the front line committing the defamation, even though, yes, it could be tied to whoever, was part of it also as a collective. The vulnerability is there, of course, for all parties involved. But do you really think anyone's going to give a crap if somebody sues Alice Cooper for defamation? I think all of a sudden she might find out that she doesn't have all the friends she thinks she has. Christy takes this moment to compliment Christopher West's mother-in-law's carrot cake. I love that about this channel. We can talk about menopause, carrot cake, whatever. I agree, Susan. I agree. And yet they are. And when there is an obvious problem, then it's up to the father, the extended family members, the friends, all the friends, to not enable a situation where children are being harmed. If we can look at those videos and spot so many inconsistencies and so many issues of concern, right? If we can see it so easily, then why the hell weren't Bella and Cece Watts removed from that home? Why wasn't Christopher Watts told immediately, to hell with any family plan? That's what we're being told, that there was some sort of a family plan. Okay, try the family plan for a month, I guess. I don't know. But those videos were being posted one after another. Oh, they're in the emergency room. Oh, yeah, they both have to have surgery. Oh, yeah, they're both sick again. Even the video where she couldn't even remember what one of the girls had, what her diagnosis was when she was in the emergency room just the night before. If there was a family plan in place, then who was monitoring that family? Who was responsible for making sure that those children were safe? If there was medical abuse going on, which is what we're being told over and over again by people who claim to know, if there was medical abuse going on, why were the children left in the home? What, do we not understand medical abuse? Is our society so lacking in knowledge about Munchausen by proxy that we think, oh, gee, everything will be okay, no problem here? And don't forget, malnutrition, poisoning, smothering. Why were those children still in the home? And you know what? I want to say this. I do think that Cindy Watts is the classiest act of this entire bunch, but she did not feel comfortable with that night-night dose of Tylenol and Benadryl. Why didn't she say so? Why didn't she say so? And like, we asked her that question, right? And she said, well, she just figured that's what the doctor said or something. But she knew better. Deep down, she knew better. Were people so afraid of upsetting Christopher Watts' wife that they were hesitant to speak? Susie, are you talking about the Dorothy channel? Because, yeah, I noticed a couple of your comments, and it is very disturbing, especially with their narrative. Not Paula, yet at the same time, I think Paula would do herself a favor to distance herself right along with Gypsy. Because if they're just going to pull that kind of shit, they're no better at all than the guacamole that they love to hate. And I don't mean Paula. I think she comes from a good place. She has a good heart. And I think Gypsy probably has a good heart too. But that Dorothy, sorry. What she pulled tonight in that live chat was total BS. Susie says, no disrespect here, but please open your eyes. You mean about Paula? Well, let me say this. One thing that I do remember, and it has been something that I've continued to remember, is that all three of them were wrenches for guacamole. They were wrenches for guacamole when guacamole was attacking me. So I do have that in my mind. Summer Rose says about the text that she said, would you love me if we didn't have kids? I think she said, would you stay with me if we didn't have kids? And I think that the reason she asked that question was because I think that she knew damn well that there was a hearing coming up. Robin says, I'm still trying to figure out how they knew that the third child was a boy. I highly doubt they knew anything. Back to that comment, Summer, I don't think she may have been jealous, whatever, but I don't think that that was any of her motivation. I think she knew that without the girls and without Chris, she was screwed. Her little act of being the MLMer was over. I just look, Christy, you're right. Well, they probably, enjoy hearing, I don't know, maybe the Dorothy is running our chat like she was running the guacamole chat. I'm joking. But they probably enjoy hearing actual discussion about the case of Christopher Watts for a change. I agree. I don't think she had any money at all without Chris. Summer Rose says it was all coming to an end for her. She was about to lose Chris and the girls, about to lose the house. She was about to lose her material life. And I don't think she saw any way forward without her stage. I don't think she saw any way at all to move forward, whether or not she was still pregnant at the time. Happy Angie says, worried about losing the open bank account, not him. Right, the access to credit, I think. We've been told that she had a stack of credit cards. And we've been told that they did not have her name on them. That's kind of an interesting detail, if true. Miss CD says she cared too much about material things. I think that's all she could hold on to. I think she was a chameleon trying to carve out her own identity. And I don't think she knew how. I do not believe that she matured naturally. I think she was a fraud even unto herself. I think she was a chameleon trying to act like that nurse friend, trying to copy her, as if there's an example of an adult that she could try to emulate, right, her life, and then she would be accepted. I don't know. Considered to be a success. I don't know. I don't think she knew how to form her own decisions, her own opinions, right? I think she was copying others. And if you've studied psychology at all, then sociopaths copy other people. They copy expressions, they copy words, they copy the nod of the head or the hand gestures. They copy other people. I think there was an issue with her, a big time issue with power and control. I also think she was trying to emulate Cindy Watts' life. Think about it. Cindy and Ronnie both worked at the dealership, right? Cindy worked in the banking end of it, right? What happened when they moved to Colorado? She took a job at the dealership where Christopher Watts worked. That's an interesting detail. Of course, she didn't stay long. Cindy was able to stay 40 plus years at her career. Christopher Watt's wife didn't stay long, and then according to the dealership boss, when she left the dealership, when she was pregnant with Bella, that's when she started with her MLMs. He never mentioned any job at the hospital. Summer says maybe even bipolar or schizophrenic, maybe multiple personality disorder. Happy Angie says borderlines take bits of personality from everyone they meet, morphing into whoever they need to be at that moment. Summer says Shannon made it all about her and her family. She didn't give a damn about Cindy and Ronnie having a relationship with their grandchildren. She was trying to turn Chris against his family. She was, but that was at the very end. That was only after she returned to North Carolina and was staying with her parents or with her mother. I'm not sure if she was staying with both of her parents at that point or just one of her parents. I don't know. Christy says, no, they don't. Happy Angie, sorry, I'm a BP deer. I think with any condition, there are certain traits, right, that appear, how do we say this? It's a collection of traits. It's a collection of symptoms. It's a collection of behaviors. And then it takes a true professional, trained, experienced, right, professional to determine for each person what their collection of behaviors, what they should be diagnosed with. So it's really like all the people saying, oh, so-and-so's a narcissist. Like, there are actually very few narcissists. It's just kind of the buzzword lately, right? About 10 years ago, the buzzword was bipolar. Everyone's bipolar. Oh, must be bipolar. Somewhere in the mix, it was everyone had PTSD. Oh, it must be PTSD. Very few people have any of the above. Kind of like fibromyalgia, lupus, the health challenges that we've learned about with this case. The actual incident rate is not high at all. And the thought that any one person would have all of the above, like, yeah, sure, okay. Another thing that I don't believe about this case. But yeah, if you've been working in the field and if you're a psych nurse for many years, you've seen certain traits that seem to be recurring over and over again that maybe set you, to say, okay, this looks like it might be A or B. And then you decide after getting more information, right? And learning more about the patient, then you decide where it fits. It's one of the downfalls, I think, of social media is, well, look at that. What's her name? Natasha. Natasha did a live chat tonight that Dorothy channel was listening to during their live chat, which made it really noisy, like I said before. And in the Natasha live chat, Guacamole was going on and on. She was giving advice for people who were in a relationship that was domestic violence. And, it's like, oh my gosh, please don't give advice. Because to me, it's obvious she doesn't have a clue what she's talking about. It's the same thing. It's one of the downfalls of social media is that there are so many people acting like they know what they're talking about who don't. And I'll go back to the word narcissist. Look at how many people in this case are being called narcissists. When in fact, like the thing with Cindy, Cindy Watts is a narcissist. Cindy Watts is the furthest thing away from being a narcissist. But all the hate channels happily call her that. That's what I mean. It's a difficult thing. Everybody has their own experience and education and knowledge. So I think it's important too in the comment threads that if somebody says, yeah, this is a common trait, blah, 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 it doesn't mean everybody at all. Christy says she's her very own weirdo black sheep. Well, sometimes being the black sheep's a good thing. Who copies no one, just saying. Well, I think with the case of Christopher Watts, I do think that there is a lot of evidence that his wife was actually a chameleon. If you look at how she wanted a certain house, how she actually posted a photo one time of her and Christopher Watts in that nurse's kitchen, and people were complimenting her on her kitchen, and she was like liking their comments. Instead of saying, this isn't my kitchen, she was letting them believe that it was her kitchen. And then pretty much how she was patterning her own life, I think, after that nurse's life. I mean, she met her, she babysat for one child for a few months, and then boom, she all of a sudden announces she wanted to be a nurse. Just like her new friend, right? That's a sign of something, guys. Robin says, Cindy Watts just wants the truth, just like the rest of us. Exactly right. And it seems to me like Cindy Watts is not afraid at all of hearing the truth. So all this bullcrap that we are hearing on all those hater channels, that Cindy's trying to pretend like her son didn't do anything or whatever, Cindy isn't trying to pretend anything. Cindy wants to know the truth about what happened. And Cindy, keep in mind, was never even interviewed by the police. Why? Why was Cindy Watts never interviewed by the police? If you were the mother of the young man being arrested, the mother-in-law of the young woman who was dead, the grandmother of the two children who were dead, and you were never interviewed by the police, wouldn't you immediately suspect that there was something fishy going on? But remember, we were told we're never going to know the truth because they don't tell people like us. Well, good thing that we're all a bunch of true crimers because we know that we're going to talk about this case for decades, and we're going to figure out pretty much what we think the truth is. Some of us already have. Yes, Susie, very bizarre, especially when so many people who were interviewed were trying to throw shade on her. And in that interview with that friend Mark, the police officer said, hey, is there anyone you think that we should interview? And he says his parents and his sister. So, you know, he even had that probably in his notes, right? Oh, gee, maybe we should interview his parents and his sister. So why was Cindy Watts not interviewed? And good point, Robin. Cindy Watts was not the person who said, check the knives. You know, I'm really glad that you guys are here. I am so glad that you guys are here, seriously. Because when I was in that live chat and I watched it all unfold and I listened to that Dorothy with her bullshit, and even the bullshit listening to the guacamole during that live that they were streaming, I think is how you say it. It was like, yeah, okay. I made that sound really good, didn't I? Yeah. But it was so toxic. It was so, ugh, which is what the case of Christopher Watts has been from the start. But by clicking on and you guys joining in and we're having this conversation, it's like, good. We're actually having a discussion on the case, right? We're not sitting here going, well, not very much anyway. that person this and this person that. We're sitting here talking about the actual case. And that's what this case needs. That is what this case needs. Honest discussion, sharing of opinions. We can agree or disagree. It's okay. That's what a discussion is all about. Because we're adults here and we know how to have a discussion. Christy says that Christopher Watts was not a narcissist and neither was Cindy Watts. And I agree with you, Christy. Susie says, I was watching. LOL, lots of love. Susie says she's been watching most of the week, hence why she noticed a lot of the shit. Yes, we're adults who say, blech. Jaja, I like your name. How's your sister Ava? She was a copier, definitely. And I think that's a sign of a person who was stunted in her growth, probably in her early teenage years. Just my opinion. I don't think she knew how to be an adult. I think she felt less than. And I think it's interesting that the channels who love to hate us, the channels who love to harass us, the profiles who love to harass us, or I would say the handful of people who use multiple profiles to harass us with, that they keep trying to, I guess, try to make us feel less than. And they're too dim to realize that isn't how it works. Robin says that Christopher Watts was an abused spouse, scared into submission by his wife and turned a blind eye. I think that he was an abused spouse. I think he was scared of his wife's temper. And I think he was scared to leave out of fear that he would not be able to protect Bella and Cece, not realizing that by staying, he wasn't protecting Bella and Cece. I think he should have definitely, as soon as any notice of hearing arrived, even before that, but with any pending hearing on any ongoing family matter, he should have taken action immediately to make sure that Bella and Cece were safe. The most dangerous moment in any abusive family, the most dangerous moment is the moment that the abuser realizes they're about to lose total power and control. If she's asking Christopher Watts the question, would you stay with me if we didn't have kids? And if she's complaining to her online friends that when she tried to talk with him about their relationship, that he would reply that he wasn't going to lose the girls, I'm thinking that hearing was on her mind. I'm thinking that those spot checks that we're told took place while she was in North Carolina were troublesome to her. I'm thinking that either she was lying, flat out lying about whether or not she was spotting and cramping in North Carolina, or I think she was too afraid to go to the hospital when she was spotting and cramping in North Carolina. And either way is not okay. I don't believe for 1 second that Christopher Watts tried to poison her. I don't believe for 1 second that he suddenly fell in love with a coworker and their perfect life was ruined. Bullshit. I'll say it again. That marriage was over. And if the marriage wasn't over, then you tell me, why did she stop making the house payment in December of 2017? Why did she talk to the divorce or a lawyer. I shouldn't call him a divorce lawyer, but she talked to a lawyer at length in March of 2018, all about divorce, all about custody, all about whether or not the custodial parent could take the children to another state. If that marriage wasn't over, why did she leave for 6 weeks? How many people do that? 0. If that marriage wasn't over, why did she tell the young hairstylist she was getting divorced and looking forward to it? She said that in early July. Robin makes a good point. Stockholm Syndrome. If you guys are not familiar with what that means, basically in a nutshell, it means that they are so dependent, so trapped, so engaged, I guess, in the unhealthy relationship that they actually even admire their abuser. They praise their abuser. They believe their abuser is their link, I guess, to life itself. Happy Angie says she was lying, attention-seeking, malingering. Carol says SW had multiple personalities and a loving mom she was not! Exclamation point. The pictures are staged, the videos too. Robin says, and was she really pregnant? Susie says, I don't think she was, Robin. I do believe that Christopher Watts is sitting in prison. I think the way he said it to his mother was that he was taking responsibility for what happened. I do believe he is taking responsibility for what happened. I do believe that he was a battered husband, and I believe he blames himself for what occurred. But in my opinion, I don't think he killed anybody. Just my opinion. And yes, I do have a right to my opinion on the case of Christopher Watts. So guess what, guys? I'm getting tired. I haven't started yawning yet, but it will begin soon if I don't say goodnight. So I'm going to start off with, oops, it'd help if I had my fingers on the right keys. Okay, I'm starting it here. Good night, John Boy. Carol says, I don't think she was pregnant either. That was her last grasp to keep up the marriage. I do agree that the announcement of the pregnancy would have been good timing, right? Susie says, I can hear it in your voice. I know it. Well, it's late. I looked at what time it is. I'm like, oops, I'm talking for a long time here. Mrs. J. Dub says, good night. Susie says, good night, Grandma. Christy says, good night, John Boy. You guys all have a great night. Maybe we'll do this again this weekend. That'd be good. Christy says, thanks, MM. So it was good to hear you. Well, I'm really glad you were here, Christy. I'm glad you guys all came. Carol says, I'm going to watch the replay. Well, at the very beginning, I kind of bashed Paula, but I pulled back from bashing Paula, but Susie's wanting me not to pull back. I don't know. When I have some driving to do this coming week, then I'll probably figure it all out and let you know what I think then. Robin says, night all. Sweet dreams. Christy says, see you, chat. Till next time. Good night, everybody. I'm glad you came. We'll talk soon.